special announcement. There's a John Turberville. He's 16 years old, he's autistic, and he's got separated from his mother. So John, if you hear this, please come up to the stage, and your mother's here waiting for you. Okay, so Dolores is going to introduce our next speaker.
Hey everybody, is there anybody here from Stockton? So I want everybody that woke up before 6 o'clock this morning to get here to make some noise. And I want everybody that's under 21 years old to make some noise. We have never said we were the Walk for Life San Francisco. We've always said we're the Walk for Life West Coast. So we like that everybody from the West Coast is here, but we even welcome our friends east of the Rockies, from the Rocky Mountains, and up and down the West Coast. Our next speaker, Mary Poirier, is, she and her husband travel all over the country and speak about in their ministry for life. And so without further ado, I'm going to bring Mary up here, and she's going to give you her story. Good morning. I don't know how to share my whole story in 8 minutes. I've never done that before. But what comes to mind, what I felt through prayer, was God saying, tell them about my mercy. I grew up in a Catholic family, and most of my life I went through the motions. We didn't grow up with a lot of intimacy, a lot of hugging, a lot of talking about things, anger, happy, I love you, none of that. And I don't blame my parents, they did the best they knew how to do. But that's the way I grew up. And during high school, like most high school kids, you're partying and trying to fit in and doing all that. And my dad, would sit down and tell me about sex. But I also thought in my heart that if you love someone, you had sex. We never talked about purity. So between the ages of 18 and 22, I went through 3 abortions. And I thought to myself, maybe God can forgive 1, possibly 2, but how can he forgive 3? And being the Catholic that I went, going through the motions, I went to confession just to try to feel forgiven. And I kept walking out going, I'm not forgiven. There is no way that I'm forgiven. So the spiral continued down. And by 25, that's when my life changed. I went to this little village in Europe, not that anyone needs to go to a little village in Europe. And being Catholic, I went to reconciliation one more time. And I knelt in the dirt, which was really appropriate there. And I said, Father, I've been through 3 abortions. And he reached out his hands and he said, oh, honey. And at that point, I knew it wasn't the priest anymore, that it was Jesus just holding me.
Amen.
Any condemnation, no guilt, just this pure love. And he said, honey, it's not the abortion that is the root of the sin. The root is how much you've hated yourself all this time. That is the root that caused the abortions. He said, we have to do one thing. We have to go through your whole life. And he took me through everything I went through. So now we have to do one more thing. We need to name your babies, because they are truly your babies. He said, what's the first one's name? And I said, Catherine.
And he said, Catherine is your little girl. He said, what's the second one's name? And I said, John. And he said, John is your little boy. And he said, what's the third one's name? And I said, Mary. And he said, Mary is your little girl. And as he absolved me from my sins, I had my eyes closed, and I saw this darkness going up and this light coming in. And he said to me, you are forgiven. Do not let Satan tell you anymore that the tomb is closed. The tomb is open. And I went away feeling all this peace. And I looked up in the skies, and I felt in my heart my 3 children say, we love you, Mommy. And I thought, okay, how can they love me after what I've been through? All the guilt came back. But it's like God wouldn't let the guilt come back. They were just waiting that day for me to claim them, for me to name them. They were praying for my salvation, and this was the day. And all those times I went to confession, as we do when we're Catholics, the time that I went there, I received the grace to forgive me. God is so powerful. Abortion is wrong. Abortion hurts women. But if you have been through it, it's never too late to ask for forgiveness. And if you say, but I did and I don't feel forgiven, I've been there. And you ask again for the grace to forgive you, because God forgives. And nothing, I am proof up here that nothing is too big for God to forgive. I think pro-life, I think for babies, for unborn babies, but for us to welcome all those men and women that are hurting so bad because there are so many, and they feel that they can never be forgiven, and we're the ones who are to welcome them back. We're the ones to say, come home and be forgiven, and rise up and be with us. Michael wrote a song last night, and the last parts of the words were, do not worry, I am with you. Mercy conquers, love wins. And that, my friends, is the truth. Love wins.